Hey, what's up, everybody? Oh, welcome to episode 51 of Crossing the Streams. Can you believe it? Episode 51. We are here.
It's one more than 50.
It's one more than 50. It's crazy. This is crazy. We're live on YouTube, Fireside, Facebook, Twitter. We're everywhere. We're everywhere. We got a special guest today, Jen.
A little bit of everything.
Princess Pinky Girl. You probably know her.
Hi, Jen.
Hi, guys.
Jen. Hello, Jen.
Good to see you, Jen.
All right, but we got to kick off. We got to start with the theme song. Here we go. Ready? Take it away, Jen.
Wait, really? Is there like background music or something?
Nope, it's a cappella.
Really?
No,
No,
it's like pitch perfect. It's all a cappella.
Oh,
there we go. There we go. I took.
Excuse me?
The music should be gone, right?
okay.
Yeah, there we go. Go ahead.
Here's the story of some lonely fellows and lady who spend way too much time watching the TV. All of them have jobs and friends. Well, not really. Just between you and me. But
That was the best.
That
Howard,
was something.
Way.
That was something.
when Jeff said I had to do that, I'm like, right,
They made a live show out of their hobby. Every TV watcher's TV watching dream. Jeff Ronsell and Bob, and there's Howard. They call it Crossing Streams.
See how fun that can be? Go ahead, Ron.
And then one day they went live on all the platforms. You could hear the people laugh and shout and scream. Still can't find another word that rhymes with platform. But man, we cross the streams. Here we go.
Cross the streams.
We cross the streams.
Across the stream.
That's the way
we do it here. We cross the
streams.
streams.
Da 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 da.
Da, ba, bom. All right, guys, welcome to Crossing the Streams, episode 51. We're live on Fireside. We're going to be talking about some great shows today that you should be binge watching. We've got amazing guests, and Jen Fishkind is here. Pinky Princess Girl, Princess Pinky Girl. Like you said, you.
It's Princess Pinky
I
Girl.
really wrote it down. I improv it, and Princess Pinky Girl. If you're on Pinterest, you've probably seen a pin from Jennifer Fishkind and her famous blog. Take it away, Jen. Tell us all about you.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you guys letting the girl and the boys groups. Have you had women on before?
20% of our shows have had women. Jen.
Oh, said it had some women.
And I've been giving you a hard time. Okay, good. So yeah, my website is Princess Pinky Girl. And it's a recipe website, easy recipes anyone can make. So check it out if you so desire.
Do you have Instant Pot recipes, Jen?
I do. I have some Instant Pot recipes. I'm loving the air fryer recipes. Lots of hacks, lots of like easy dinners. It's a website for people who really don't like to cook. So
Anything with any ramen recipes?
You know, I don't have a ramen one, but I was thinking about it because they're going so viral on TikTok right now. The ramen recipes. So stay tuned. I'm probably.
I like a good ramen, so I'll be.
I gave you my instant ramen hack. Did I not, Ron?
No.
I'll whatever you say in front of Jennifer could end up as a blog. Just saying.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
It's fine. I'm just letting you know.
When you boil the water, put the seasoning mix in with the boiled water. So when you make the noodles, you're making them in the seasoning, and add a little bit of butter to the boiled water as well.
Butter makes everything better.
It adds a richness.
I thought that's the wrong way to do it. I thought you boil it, take the water out, and then put the mix in, and then mix it with the noodles.
That's the instructions. But I'm saying that when you add the broth mix with butter and make the noodles in that, it adds a richness, a depth of flavor, a little umami, if you will.
Mm-hmm. You are layering the.
Well, that's I think if you're going to go with it as a soup. But let's face it, for 20 cents a package, you can do A/B testing.
Do what you want, yeah.
Or you can go on to Princess Pinky Girl and find a real recipe.
There you go. Yeah.
Come on, let's bring this back around. Jeff.
No, but you guys, seriously, you should go to Princess Pinky Girl on Facebook and on the web.
I am just short of 1 million followers on Facebook. So if anyone can go on there and give me some love, that would be great. I've been crawling my way up there. So
that's amazing. And Jen posts stuff all the time, and it's usually stuff I'll call it Rachel Ray-ish, meaning like you can do it.
anyone, my whole mantra was, if I can do it, anyone can, because I'm a horrible cook. So it's really, I've got some cookbooks for college students. I've got a lot of Christmas stuff up there right now. So.
All right. So everyone check out Princess Pinky Girl on Facebook. It's just facebook.com/Princess Pinky Girl.
Or you can just go to princesspinkygirl.com and skip Facebook altogether.
You'll have more recipes.
That's amazing, Jen Fishkind.
Thank you.
Jen Fishkind is incredible.
Thank you.
All right. So
I just have to say, Jerry just made a comment that you haven't put up about that he cries in his ramen, which that's very telling about who you are, Jerry.
Probably, yeah.
My daughter took me on a tour of all the places at the University of Michigan where she's cried, which I have to tell you, one of them was a ramen establishment. So there must be a thing with that.
Ramen establishments like Slurping Turtle in Ann Arbor.
That's where it was, Jeff.
That's not like ramen, ramen you buy at Kroger.
It's not like the little square thing of ramen that used to be.
No,
it's like next level, really great stuff. Slurping Turtle is amazing, and future sponsor of Crossing the Streams.
Yes.
So anywho, for those tuning in on Facebook and Fireside specifically, we're going to be talking about a bunch of shows. If you tuned in last week, episode 50, episode 50 was a themed episode. I believe Howard Rosner themed our episode. It was a giving theme. It was like the theme was shows that we take comfort in. They were not full reviews or anything like that. They were kind of just suggestions. And we talked about The Big Short, Friends, Willy Wonka, the movie with Gene Wilder, Best in Show, Narcos, Rocky, Arrested Development, Band of Brothers, Ozark, Bloodsport, and Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso was a chime in from our friends on Fireside. So those are just some. If you want, you can check that out on Fireside. It's streaming there, and on YouTube, you can get the whole episode there. Super fun. But speaking of super fun, this episode's super fun. Episode 51 has it all. It has Manhunt Unabomber. It's
what's that about?
That was a guy from the U of M. And My Dad's Christmas Date.
Oh my God.
You got the wrong box again, Jeff. No, I'm just kidding.
Is it? Because you said Jeremy. And Handmaid's Tale. Jen is going to be talking about the Handmaid's Tale, so I'm looking forward to that. And then Howard Rosner. I'm curious how much. Have you seen all 8 hours of the Get Back?
I've watched 8 hours and then watched it again.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
I'll talk about why I watched it again.
Committed.
I'll talk about why I watched it again during my review.
I can't wait. Wait. That's pretty cool. I've been watching Hawkeye. This is not a review of Hawkeye, but it's pretty good. I think the third episode upped it a bit, and there's been rumors that Kingpin is going to be in it. The same guy who played it,
Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah,
Vincent.
I'm excited about that.
They made it pretty. They all but showed him and said it in episode 3. They actually kind of show him, but it's more like just an arm, but it's clearly Kingpin's arm.
Yeah, I think they've hinted that it'll be a post-credit scene in episode 4 is what they've hinted.
Yeah, they keep referring to him. He's referred to as Uncle, the Uncle.
Yeah.
But I like these. I like these kind of Marvel sideshows. I think it's neat to even though if it's not the best, I don't know if it's as good as Falcon and Snowman, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But I didn't love that at first either. That kind of grew on me.
Falcon and the Snowman was a whole different thing, by the way.
Yeah, Falcon and Snowman was Sean Penn movie. But
Timothy Dalton.
Yeah. Timothy Dalton, right? And hot off taps together. But Hawkeye, I enjoyed episode 3. I like the girl who's Kate Bishop. I'm enjoying it. So I'm sticking with it. I'm not gonna. I like these little side stories where they kind of dive into the characters a little bit more. You don't get much, especially Hawkeye. You don't get much with Hawkeye, in the movies. So, all right, can't believe I'm the. Well, Rosner, you saw the first.
I watched. Yeah, I liked it. And again, we talked about this in reviews in the past with the Disney shows. It's not earth-shattering, but the level of production beyond TV shows of 10 years ago, it's staggering. It's the level of production of what a major Jerry Bruckheimer classic action film would have been 10 years ago, and we're watching it in episodes and going, it's decent. Like, it's just, that's what we've come to with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that's pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing.
And I said Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton was, of course, Timothy Hutton. Yeah.
I was going to correct you guys that isn't Timothy Dalton in Flash Gordon?
Who knows? Yeah. Anywho, and then the new Boba Fett trailer is out for the Book of Boba Fett. That looks pretty good. Anywho, all right, let's get going. Let's do our first show. This is Manhunt Unabomber. Ron's going to take us through this. This is Ron. Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you guys know this show? Have you guys seen it at all? Heard about it? Anything?
I haven't even heard about that one yet.
I tell you what, I appear to be cornering the market on every freaking show on streaming about serial killers and people that just are murdering people. And if it's a historical documentary or any type of dramatic reenactment of the historical documentary, that's for me. And sure enough, I was looking for a show not long ago to check it out. The Algorithm Boys on Netflix trotted out this one from regarding the Unabomber. For those of us who are from Michigan, the Unabomber holds a special place in our historical background, given the fact that he got his PhD from the University of Michigan, which is my own alma mater. So fun. Well, let's learn about the Unabomber, right? Who's with us? Just saw 6 Square. Very good. So, listen, it's this was put out by Discovery in 2017, the Discovery Channel and their streaming platform. It was ultimately picked up by Netflix, so you can see it now on Netflix. The Manhunt series, of which Manhunt Unabomber was the first season, and then there was a second season, which I don't know if it was if it was as good or not. It was called Manhunt Deadly Games, and that came out last year to not a lot of acclaim. But the Unabomber series was excellent. It was 8 episodes, and it takes you through as I said, the dramatic reenactment of the story of Ted Kaczynski, and it stars Sam Worthington, who I kind of learned Sam Worthington during the Avatar world. But he does a great job as Agent Jim Fitzgerald, who tracks down the Unabomber and does so over a series of years at the risk of his career and his family, and really just absolutely committed his life to finding this guy. Paul Bettany, who I'm sure you guys all know because of his Iron Man
Vision. Vision
background. He's Vision, exactly. So he was in Iron Man 2, Iron Man 3, The Avengers, so all that stuff, none of which, other than the original Iron Man, I've ever seen. But apparently, it's a big deal.
He was just a voice in Iron Man, so you didn't miss.
Is that true? He's just a voice?
He's Jarvis, yeah.
Okay, there you go. Well, so anyway, this story, it's very, very well done. I have to say, this is a well-produced thing. I would have preferred, we've talked about this, that Netflix has I think a tendency for dramatic reenactments to extend further than they need to. And Howard, you and I have talked about this before.
Yeah.
I think they could have done this show in 4 or 5 episodes. It is 8 episodes, each episode between 45 minutes and an hour. So not bad. It's not like you're wasting 2 hours for each episode, but I feel like they could have shortened this up. I feel like the story on the front end could have sped up to really what is the best part of the story, which is how they ultimately tracked him down. And do you guys remember how they ended up catching the Unabomber? Because it really is a fascinating story.
He was in his cabin at the time, wasn't he? When
he was in his cabin. That's where they apprehended him. But do you know how they caught him? Because this guy was so freaking smart. He planned these murders out so well in advance, and some of them didn't work logistically with the bombs, but just the packaging, where he got the nitrate, where he got the bomb materials, how he sent it, where he sent it, the manner in which he targeted people. Just super creepy intelligent about how he did this. And he just was not going to get caught. He lived completely off the grid, as we all know now. There was no way to track him. There was no internet. There was no way to figure this out at all. So the question stands, do you know how the FBI caught him?
I don't.
He was turned in by his own family.
Oh, that's right. That's
Wow.
right. His
Wow.
brother,
Yeah.
right?
I think that happens.
Did they recognize the hoodie?
They recognized his manifesto, the writing in his manifesto, and his ranting about the government and about control and all the things that he'd ranted about through his scholastic career, even at University of Michigan, by the way. And his sister recognized the writing and contacted the FBI, and that led to a setup of a number of targets that they thought where he might be, and one of them turned out to be the correct place, that cabin out in the woods. So it really is a super fascinating story, and it does walk you through all of the elements of this that make this story truly an exceptional one, because these were not random bombings. These were very targeted people who we felt were detrimental to society as he saw it. And he was in his mind, and even this is still true today, he thought he was doing the right thing for the world. And so, listen, he may turn out to be right, but it's still a crime. And he got caught for it. But listen, if you're into these dramatic reenactments, and if you're into kind of understanding what went down, particularly the inner workings of the FBI and the struggle of not just the entire agency trying to catch this guy, but the struggle of the lead investigator who almost lost everything to make this happen, which is absolutely a true story. Check it out. One last thing I'll just say is there anything that Jane Lynch can't do? She plays Janet Reno. She plays Janet Reno in this series.
Oh, she would make a good Janet Reno.
She is fantastic as Janet Reno. And
wow.
She's amazing in everything.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I mean, she really is. I just was watching
Party
I'm
Down.
sorry. No, the one about the comedian on Amazon.
Hazel?
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She's so freaking good in that series.
She's great in that show.
She's great in that show.
She is.
I find her range to be great. So
Wait,
you know
what else she's great in? Only Murders in the Building.
I've heard that. I haven't seen it. I've heard that she's good.
She plays Steve Martin's old stunt double. Obviously, he's a man and she's a woman. But it's so funny.
She was brilliant in Glee.
Oh, Glee! I think that was what kind of exploded her beyond like the amazingness of like Best in Show and stuff.
She was also wasn't she 40-year-old? She was a 40-year-old virgin too, right?
Yep, she was.
I think she was like so popular in those movies, but I think it was Glee.
No, but she was great in that movie.
Oh yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, she is. I mean, just as what I appreciate about talents like her being, just willing to take a completely side character and not be the story and not be the main thrust of the movie. And I always appreciate it when actors that are that good are willing to take those roles. And as it turns out in this case, she's just perfectly cast as Janet Reno. So
if you want to watch a really funny Jane Lynch YouTube clip, Google Jane Lynch, Rich Eisen. She was on the Rich Eisen show, and he has this thing where he asks them true or false questions. And he asked her about being in 40-Year-Old Virgin, and she came up with the song that she sings in Spanish, and she's like, would you like to hear me do it? And he's like, of course. She just does it off the top of her head. Del football. It's brilliant. She's amazing. She's
brilliant on The Amazing Miss Maisel too.
I think that's the height of her career, in my opinion, is the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So anyway, back to Manhunt. I highly recommend it. I don't know how many sauce jars I'm going to give it, Sal. I would say 3.5 out of 5. And the only reason I didn't score it 4 is I do think they could have shortened the front end of the story. But boy, it speeds up and it really grabs you, and you have to finish it out because it's a really chilling tale. So check it out. Check it out, Netflix.
Ron, permission to pimp your.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody can use the sauce jar.
Okay, next case. Ready, guys? Ready for this? 3. Ready? 3.
What's the half?
3.5. Yeah. Excellent.
Actually, well, that was great, Ron. That's interesting.
Good job, Ron.
Yeah, man,
sometimes I like maybe the reenactments more than the actual documentaries, unless it's a tight documentary.
Well, some of them are excellent. I forget who was it reviewed about the college scandal. Was that you, Jeff?
That was like an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. That is an hour and a half, and I do think there are limits to this, as I said. But that was excellent. I think some of these reenactments are really well done. I never used to think that. Maybe they've just improved.
Right. And Ted Kaczynski is probably the most famous U of M alumni ever.
Yeah, not Tom.
Look, I read this about him, which is kind of fascinating. He was very famous. He was very brilliant. He left false clues in most bombs, which he intentionally then made hard to find to make them seem legitimate.
Jeez.
Insane. All right. That was great.
Crazy.
Yeah. All right. So that was Manhunter Unabomber, for those Manhunt Unabomber as part of a series, but Ron is only getting behind season 1. All right. Speaking of a show with multiple seasons,
all right,
Ben Fishkind's debut. We're going to now discuss The Handmaid's Tale. Jen, take it away.
Thank you. So Handmaid's Tale is honestly one of my favorite shows. It's funny because most people, like a lot of people who haven't seen it, are like, well, it's so disturbing. I don't think I can watch it. And like, yes, it is a very disturbing show. Like, absolutely. But it is redeeming. There is some, taking back the power in it. For those of you guys who don't know even any idea what it's about, it's takes place in a place called Gilead, and it's part of the United States that basically there was an environmental disaster which led to most women becoming infertile. But there was a small number of women who still could become pregnant, and they're forced to become handmaids for the elite class. And they're basically owned by the elite class. And, these women who are fertile, they, if they fight, if they do fight back, which a lot of them do, they're not killed because it's more important for them to have them produce babies. But so they are basically, harmed in ways that won't affect their fertility. And it's very disturbing. I don't want to go into too much detail about some of the, what the disturbing elements, because it does kind of ruin parts of the show. But Elizabeth Moss, who was in Mad Men, is phenomenal in this show. She is, first of all, I think she's an amazing actress. She is just a badass in this show, and she really kills it. And Joseph Fiennes, who I didn't realize was Shakespeare in Love. Anyone see that movie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm still upset it beat Saving Private Ryan for Best Picture, but go ahead.
No problem. So I do agree with you on that. So he was totally hot in that movie. I loved him. He's so creepy in this movie and disturbing that it's like ruined him for me. Which isn't all that fair. But
he's doing a good job.
He really is. It's on its 4th season. I found each season to be amazing. A lot of the reviews on the 4th season was that a little slower, not as good. It was a little slow, but it's amazing. It's definitely worth watching. Again, it's based on the book of The Handmaid's Tale, which I think there's a lot of, from what I understand, because I'm not a huge reader anymore, there's a lot of differences between the books and the movies. I'm trying to think like what I can compare it to, what it reminds me of. A little bit of zombies.
Walking Dead.
Walking Dead. Thank you. A little bit of Walking Dead. You kind of like with Walking Dead. When I first started watching that, I was so focused on the zombies that I could, and I'm like, how many episodes are there of this? And my husband's like 110. I'm like, I'm never gonna make it with all the zombie killings, But then the zombies kind of become something of the background noise, and it more is about the characters and what's happening between the characters, and that's kind of how I kind of separated what was going on, because there's rape, there's God, just awful things happen to these women, and if you can't separate that, it's hard to watch. Mm-hmm. But it also has an empowering factor in it when they, they kind of take back the power. And that's, it kind of also, with like the Hunger Games movies, it's that same kind of feeling where you're like, it's super disturbing what they're doing to these kids, but they, it is redeeming.
So
nice.
I have a couple comments. First off, I've watched this series entirely now twice, which is really pathetic. I love The Handmaid's Tale.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to say one thing that's really shallow, and then the other part that's my real comment. Yvonne Strahovski, this is the shallow part, is the hottest actress in Hollywood, with hands down. If you guys don't know who this is, she plays the infertile upper class wife who has to take on the Handmaid's Tale to bear children. The handmaid. But she's this Australian actress. I don't know what she's done other than The Handmaid's Tale. But
she had a big role in the final seasons of Dexter.
Oh.
There you go. And that would make sense because I didn't watch the final season.
She was in Chuck.
She was in
someone you're
Chuck.
in love
That's
with.
right.
You did not do a lot of research. She's actually been huge.
I've only seen her in
Look her
Handmaid's
up on
Tale.
Mr. Skin. I know you look
But so she is absolutely strikingly, gorgeously
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, and I just can't take my eyes off her. The other, my real comment though is Ann Dowd. Ann Dowd plays the super evil taskmaster character who Aunt Lydia, who punishes the handmaids. And she's won multiple awards. I can't remember.
Yeah, they've won so many awards for this show. Yeah.
She is so powerful. Every one of her, I'd never seen her in anything before, but she steals the show as far as I'm concerned, just in terms of her acting and her character and the role that they have this woman play. Just absolutely stellar, worth the price of admission. Just that role.
I mean, completely evil.
Yep.
And the backstory for her was really fascinating. I found that episode when they went to a backstory of how she became who she is was very fascinating. And I really enjoy actually all the backstories of the characters. I think it's very I think they do a really good job with that. But also just the relationships between the main character June and the people that she is living with, like you said, Serena and the Colonel, but then also Bradley Whitford, who I thought was really good in this as well. He
was in The West Wing.
Now Bradley Whitford wasn't he also in Get Out?
Yes, he was in Get Out.
Yeah. I mean, West Wing was one of my favorite shows. But
Billy Madison.
Right. I mean, that's the best of the best. But
he was also on that one with what's his face, Chandler, like the
Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
Yes, which I actually like that show.
Yeah,
I really wish that show kept going.
So I will just say this, and I don't know what's going to end up happening, but Handmaid's Tale is at risk, as far as I'm concerned, of going into Lost territory, where it just doesn't know how to end, and it just ends up sucking. And I will tell you, I'm worried for it.
Well, with the end of season 4, which I don't want to give it away.
Right, don't give it away.
I think they are starting to wrap it up, though. I mean, there was some things that took place that makes me feel like they're probably going to be on their last season.
And I know what you're talking about, and I hope you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always good when they can map out a decent finish, because the book only covers season 1, right? After season 1, correct me if I'm wrong. After season 2, didn't it just go into its own territory, or at least by season?
I think it went pretty off onto its own territory, like early on. I'm not sure. I know it's a series though. I think I have to look it up. I think there's more than one book, I think. But it does. I don't think it doesn't follow the books anyways. But I think I haven't heard anything. I know there is another season's coming out, and I'm going to absolutely watch it. But I think.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Jeff, Howard, Sally, have none of you guys seen even a single episode of this?
Not a minute.
I haven't.
This is when Jen introduced it in the beginning. That's kind of the reason I never saw it. It was, and this is, how you have those shows where you watch with your partner, and then you have a show where you maybe watch by yourself when that person's not around. This is a show that my wife watches when I'm not around.
Yeah, I mean, my husband doesn't watch it with me, but it was really good.
I believe our friend Jeff Z loves this show. He thought it was great. So it's not that I don't think I would enjoy it. I just think there's some parallels to what is going on in real life right now that I don't need more anxiety in my life.
Well, what's really interesting about it is, like, you know, when you start to see some of the stuff that is going on right now, you know, it's pretty far-fetched. Then you're like, is it, you know, like could like you could see, and they show you how they got to this point too, which is really interesting. You know, that they take you on the journey to, you know, how they got from point A to where they are at point, you know, Z right now. And you're like, well, God, I mean, I guess that could happen.
It is my understanding that everything in the Handmaid's Tale, the book, which this is based on, was based on something that actually happened in history. Now, they may have mashed things together and changed things, but I think most of the concepts were pulled from reality and created into a new tale. But I don't think any of this was per se invented.
Interesting.
Anywho, all right. Well, we're going to go now to a 9/11 documentary from Ron. No, I'm just kidding. That was great, Jen. That was a great
job, Jen.
Nice job.
Thanks, guys.
That was good. You can come back anytime.
Thank you.
All right. Well, let's get to another one. Sal is known mostly for
don't make fun of me, you guys.
Biographies of usually Italian people, but because he's Italian and he loves that. But he has dedicated himself to Christmas movies for the month of December. The first one that he's going to showcase is My Dad's Christmas Dates, starring the amazing Jeremy Piven, who's Jewish, by the way. But all right, take it away.
Yes, I'm a big Jeremy Piven
So he's
fan.
stretching as an actor as well.
That's good.
I guess Jews can have a date on Christmas, but it just I think
must have gone, what Chinese restaurant? What Chinese restaurant is it?
Is this a Lifetime movie?
No, it is not. It is a Netflix movie, but it's along those similar lines. First of all, unlike Ron, I don't get these murder documentaries sent to me on Netflix. I get Christmas, joyous Christmas movies. So anyway, I thought I'd choose this one. And here's the backstory on it. It stars obviously Jeremy Piven. He plays a father named David. His daughter name is Jules, and unfortunately, his wife, her mother, was killed in a car accident a couple years before. They don't ever show any of that. They don't deal with that, so it's kind of cool in that part. And now they have to live without his wife and her mother, and so the movie is really about her trying to find him another date along the lines of a wife. But in the other realm, it's also about their relationship together that they're trying to build without the mother around anymore. So anyway, that's how it's kind of builds up and starts. Really good back and forth with Jeremy, and her name is Olivia Barrett. She's from London, and she's a great actress. There's a lot of scenes in this where they kind of remember his wife and their mother and stuff, so they've got to do some emotional acting, but they're both really, really good at it. There's also some great scenes where she's she basically goes on a dating app and builds a profile for him without him knowing, and she starts communicating with all these girls, and they'll show the girls on the screen and stuff, which I think is kind of cool. It's like a built-in episode of The Bachelor or something during the movie, so that was cool. But anyway, they go on to, now here's the part that's unbelievable. Like, she sets him up on a date in like a art museum. She's with him, and then he ends up meeting her in the art museum, and they just start communicating, but they never bring up how they met. She's like, David, she knew his name, and so I thought that was kind of like unbelievable. Like, they never brought up the fact that he didn't build the profile on the dating app. So I thought that was not believable, but whatever. It's a Christmas movie. So anyway, after a few dates like that, there's some moments in there with like, father-daughter moments. Like there's a scene where she's going to try to set him up on a date on one of her dates that they're having, but she wants to dress him. So he goes to his closet, to get ready in the morning, whatever. And there's no clothes in his closet. And he's like, Jules, he calls her name out. And by the way, he plays a great part, but he has a little bit of the Ari Gold in him. In this obviously a toned down Ari Gold, but he does play that kind of character. And anyway, he yells out, Jules, like, where's my clothes at? She's like, they're at the laundry, and he's like, every one of them, So she has a outfit for him on the bed, and she's kind of like dressing him up, and she's kind of, it's that kind of movie where the daughter's trying to set up the dad on dates and stuff. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of, like I said, emotional parts with them acting kind of emotional about the loss of their mother, with very, very funny banter after that. I thought they worked very, very well together. It's like one of those cheesy Christmas movies, very short. It's like an hour and 15 minutes long. I won't say at the end, but she has this big ending where she sings in a choir, and one of the dates that she sets up is at the church that day to listen to her sing and meet her dad. And there's a moment where you see that, but you don't know where that goes to. And then this last scene is them kind of dancing in a park, kind of reigniting their relationship after the loss of their mother. So you don't really know what happens with maybe they're looking for part 2. Who knows? Maybe it'll be Hanukkah. Maybe you'll get your wish, Jeff, and he'll do a Hanukkah movie as Jeremy Piven. But anyway, good movie. I give it 4 tomato sauce jars.
4 tomato sauce jars.
4 tomato sauce.
I think it's something worth seeing if you have a Netflix account, and if you're looking for a kind of like a little bit of comedy, a little bit of romance, a little bit of sappiness, a little bit of funny, and just a good movie. And Jeremy Piven. If you're a Jeremy Piven fan, you're going to get the Jeremy Piven quotes and his attitude and all that. So I think it's a good movie.
Does he yell Lloyd at any point during
the he yells Jules. He yells his daughter's name.
I mean, Lloyd would be amazing.
Correct. In the same voice as Lloyd. It's hysterical.
I have a question for the group, for anyone. Is in this scenario where the mom dies, would it be normal for the child to actively try and get a new mom? I'm asking, like, in real life. I mean, would you have you ever known that?
She was 17 or 15.
It depends on how emotionally mature the daughter is at that point.
That's like a common movie MO. I mean, that's like
I'm talking about in real life, though.
In real life? Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Eventually, not like a month after.
I mean, how long has she been gone?
Well, this was 2 years. This was 2 years after a horrific car crash.
2 years, yes.
Okay.
And there's a lot of scenes with him kind of dealing with her and dating and stuff, because she's 17 in the movie. So there's a lot of that. And Jeremy Piven, having a hard time dealing with her dating habits and all that. So it's got a lot of that, and at the same time, it's got a lot of her trying to set him up. So that actually she kind of sets him up because she wants him out of her life a little bit,
keep him busy.
But it's
so the question is, so the question is, in the search for a new mom, will Jules find her old dad?
Yes, exactly.
Is that the tag?
Yeah. Googling the wiki page, Jen, during the show. It's a
Sal, I got to be honest with you. I don't think there's a chance in how I'm ever going to watch this movie. This is like, this sounds like something I would want to jump out of the window for.
Here's the deal. Well, don't jump out of the window, because maybe one day you're going to be on a Delta flight going somewhere, and it might come up, and you might go, you know what, Sal, I'm going to watch this thing now because I'm 30,000 feet in the air and I have to. Maybe
and unfortunately for Ron and I, they've removed The Big Short from
The Big Short's not on
selections on Delta.
I'll tell you, it would be really interesting to see what Netflix is recommending for each of you, to see what the differences are.
Sorry, Jen. I'm reading Jerry's comment.
Jerry is going crazy right now.
when my grandpa passed away, I put her up on OK Cupid.
Oh man, that's too funny.
Um,
All right, well, this is very exciting. So, Sal, thank you for bringing
thank you, Sally.
Bit
Nice
of
job.
Lifetime to the.
No
You know,
problem.
it's
I just got a text from Jeremy Piven. He said, "Thank you for doing the review on our."
Thank you for
movie."
Jen,
being
we
the
each
only
have our
person who
genres,
noticed you
and then
made
we
a
also
movie.
have our guilty.
Man, so
we also have our guilty pleasures. Sal's guilty pleasures are Hallmark Lifetime movies.
right.
Mine
Bob's
are
is
Rite de
boxing.
Passage films. Right.
This has been a great episode so far. Can you believe it? Manhunt Unabomber, Handmaid's Tale, and my dad's Christmas date with Jeremy Piven, all in one episode. What could we possibly do?
Where are we going to go from here?
Where are we going to possibly
boy.
go? Oh, are we going to
the Beatles?
We're going to talk about
Finally,
the thing that
Cincinnati.
everybody's
Beatles.
talking about, the
Yeah.
Beatles Get Back.
Get
But-
back to where you want.
Howard Rosner is going to take us through a national mystery journey.
So just first of all, before I begin, just I don't want to provide a spoiler, but I feel like I need to provide a.
Oh, Raj, you're coming out.
Raj, you're breaking up, buddy.
Breaking up.
It's because he was going to give us a spoiler.
Rosner froze. So while Rosner's figuring it out, he's having technical difficulties. We might have to Get Back.
We can do it together, Jeff, because I freaking love this.
So Get Back is.
I'm
I'm
starting.
back.
There he is.
Yay, there he is.
Wi-Fi
Get back.
is out of
We
control.
need Rosner back. Get back.
So
to
this
where
movie is.
Rosner is.
The spoiler was shortly after the footage was filmed from this movie, the Beatles broke up. So I'm sorry for that spoiler, but it was 50.
I'm only
it was
like 15
52
minutes
years
in.
ago. Get over it. So this movie, for those who haven't watched it or aren't, and you did mention it briefly, but I'll also just mention it because I believe she has tuned in upstairs. My wife, I'm a big Beatles fan. My wife is an enormous Beatles fan. And I proposed to my wife just over 3 years ago in the childhood bedroom of John Lennon on a private Beatles tour in Liverpool, which was one of the most fascinating things we've ever done, aside from the fact that we got engaged.
Creepy, yet romantic.
So we watched this. Okay, so the backstory for those who haven't seen it of what this is. So it's 1969. The Beatles are right toward the end. They've struggled. Their manager, Brian Epstein, had passed away. They have struggled creatively and personality wise. They've decided not to play live shows anymore and focus just on their music. And the decision they made was they were going to film them creating the music for their next album. And as part of filming that, they were going to film it for a TV show that would basically be a documentary leading to a live performance of the new music. The catch of it is because of scheduling, Ringo Starr is going to be in a musical. They have 3 weeks to create the album and film everything. 3 weeks. They start out recording at a place called Twickenham, which was the soundstage where they were going to rehearse for the musical, which is a huge space. They have nothing, really. They're a blank slate, but they start immediately just writing songs. So the end result of this, real quick, they begin kind of day by day going through music, and I have a bunch of notes here that I wanted to share on it. After I believe the third or fourth day, because of some issues, George Harrison says, "Well, see you around the clubs, lads. I'm out of here." Basically saying, "I'm done. I'm out of the band." And they actually show his journal that he wrote in that day saying, "Left the Beatles, went home." And so now they're filming this. They don't know if they're going to have George back. They end up talking George into coming back. They switched locations to their brand new Apple Studios, which is a much better location for them, as it turns out. So it goes on a little longer than 3 weeks, as it turns out. The end result is during these film sessions over 3.5 weeks, they basically create the entirety of the Let It Be album and 2/3 of Abbey Road, which for me, being a big music fan, I personally believe Abbey Road is the single greatest piece of music ever put onto an album. I think it's a perfect album without any question. The way they go about writing music is fascinating. So again, just these are my notes that I kind of made that I just wanted to talk about. It's almost 8 hours, which, yeah, it's Peter Jackson. It's going to be extra long. You know that's the case. The number one thing, though, is the renovation, or however you call it, of the footage that they did for this movie. I swear to me, and Jeff, Jen, I know you watched it, parts of it look like it was shot on an iPhone. It's so realistic. Like, you're like, that looks like it's a stage show out, like, on the other side of my living room. It's remarkably clear, and it's amazing. So that was the first thing. Technically, it's an incredible documentary. You really see, watching this, you can tell, okay, the Beatles were at an end. There was clearly an end point. And I thought it was fascinating that, the narrative for 52 years or 50 years has been Yoko. It was all because of Yoko. And Yoko was a factor, certainly, but there were significant other factors you could see. George is absolutely done with the Beatles. He wants to go his own way. He says at one point, he's like, Paul, I'll just tell me what to play. I'll play it or I won't play it. Whatever you want. I don't care. I'll go home. It's okay. He's clearly done and wants to do his own thing. Ringo is just like, whatever. Just I'll sit here and play drums. I'm in the background. John is with Yoko. My wife looked at me and said, what if I came to your job and sat 2 feet away from you the entire time? Because she's never more than 5 feet.
It was
away
like
from
awkward. Like it felt awkward.
It's really uncomfortable.
It's a meme. It said Yoko Ono was every girlfriend ever at an open mic.
Yeah, I could imagine that. So that you see that, but again, they're clearly at the end, and Paul is real serious about the business. George is upset because they had been really getting screwed on their record contracts with EMI and not making the money they deserved. So there's that. The other thing, another thing that amazed me was their level of musical genius. Like, we know they're musical genius. They created genres of styles of music that are copied by everybody to this day. But the ability they had to write music, I mean, there's just sitting there on one of the days while they're taking a break, and it's just about 2 minutes of Paul strumming his guitar and mumbling, and he's mumbling, and it becomes Get Back. Like, in 2 minutes of just strumming his guitar, mumbling, and then it like, that's like, oh my God. George comes in first thing in the morning after one night, and he's like, I was watching this science fiction show last night, and at one part they went and it was like an Austrian Viennese waltz, and I wrote this song, and it's I, Me, Mine, which is one of my favorite Beatles songs, like hidden gem, non-hit Beatles songs. It came to him because he was watching a science fiction movie that had a Viennese waltz, and he wrote I, Me, Mine. Like, crazy.
It's insane. Like, hey, I was watching TV and I just I wrote this.
Yeah.
If you guys are all Howard Stern fans, I know Jeff, you are. We've talked about Howard Stern a lot. But
I'm a huge fan. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when he has Paul on there, and he dissects the songs and loves to talk about how he creates the songs. I find it fascinating.
Yep,
and this was actually like taking it a step further because you're watching the conversations they're having. And I just started it last night, but just to see how the music is composed as they're actually it's happening. It's not even just a story, and you're not relying on Paul's memory of how it happened. Was super fascinating to me.
Well, yeah, and like I'll send you guys an article. I was going to talk about this before the show, but I came across a webpage that has all 123. This is why I watched the documentary a second time, because it's got a list of all 123 songs, including the improvs that they play during the course of the movie. Not all Beatles songs, obviously. It's a bunch of covers that they do just for fun. But just amongst the songs, like that they were just noodling on at some point, like in the first 2 minutes of the song or of the documentary, John is playing a song called On the Road to Marrakesh, which became Jealous Guy, one of his best solo songs.
Love
years later. Paul is noodling on the piano at one point, and no words. It's Another Day, which was one of his best solo songs.
I love that song.
He's doing another song. George he's like, I got one. It's called All Things Must Pass, which became the name of his first solo album and one of the tracks on the solo album. There's another one where I had no clue. I didn't notice it until I read this article and we rewatched it. He's playing the piano part for a song. I think it was called Song of Love. And the piano part is essentially the opening of Maybe I'm Amazed. I'm like, what? And I had to go back and watch that. I'm like, I didn't even notice that. So like the amount of music that came out of this, I mean, again, Let It Be and Abbey Road came out of this. The other thing that I found amazing was the quote unquote fifth Beatle. The only other musician to be credited on a Beatles album was Billy Preston, who they were so struggling and so stuck. And they had piano parts and songs, and they invited Billy to come and sit in with them. And within 5 minutes of his being there, the whole room lit up with his piano playing and what it added to the music. It was just like lifting a weight off their shoulders creatively was such a huge help. That was amazing. And then the other thing that came out of it for me was, even with all the issues with the band, even though it was near the end, even though, I mean, John and Yoko were pretty much on heroin at this point in time. And even with everything going on, the most pure thing to me in this movie, though, was when John and Paul started playing music together, like not going back and forth, but even just some of the times they would launch into stuff together, you could see them smile and how much a lifetime, and I say lifetime, they weren't that old, but, a dozen years or so at this point in time of being best friends and playing music together at the level of genius they loved it. And you could see that, like when they started playing, they loved it. And then, of course, as I think a lot of people may know, this documentary, they decided they would do it as a feature film. And what ended up as the live performance was they ended up doing the famous rooftop recordings at Apple Studios. And the footage from that was amazing. The hidden camera in the office of the cops complaining about the noise and the interviews with a bunch of people at street level. So I cannot, if you are at all interested in the Beatles, I cannot highly recommend this enough. It's 8 hours about, but I thought it was riveting beginning to end. Just seeing four absolute creative geniuses in this level of detail in their prime. I thought it was incredible. I loved it.
Are they? I know we're pressed for time here. Howard.
No, we're fine.
Do they have anything in there? Because I can't wait to watch it. Do they have anything in there about some of the things like how they got their name, the Beatles, or the Apple label, or anything like that? Like an inside scoop on anything that?
No, there is a nice little couple. Just it's really slides at the beginning that kind of lay out a quick little history of how they got to this point. But it's not. It's it's really just the footage from what became known as the Get Back sessions, which were January of 1969. So yeah, that's really all it is. They don't go into, which is also one of the fascinating things, because the story of their background in Hamburg and all that stuff, that's been done so many times and done well. But this is just footage from these sessions, and it's great.
They do just enough, Sal, in the beginning to fast forward you through their story to get you to the point in time of the timeline of where this movie takes place. So like the first, say, 7 minutes.
Got it.
Yeah, I think it's John and Paul singing. Is it Two of Us? Is that the name of the song? Like in the beginning where they're going back and forth.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah, George clearly,
he's done
the last place he wanted to be.
Yeah.
It's 8 hours, but it came from like 60 hours of like unseen footage. It's
why they wait so long to release something like that?
That was my question.
There was a movie called Let It Be done years ago that I guess Ringo hates. I don't think it's that they waited. I think they made that movie and then this footage hasn't been seen.
Right. Yeah, they scrapped the project.
They said it was in a vault for forever.
It was just in a vault. So Peter Jackson pulled it out and created this story from it. It is his version of the story from the footage. So, I mean, we don't know.
But the movie was produced by, Paul and Ringo and the Lennon, and Yoko was involved with the production of it as well. So they were consulted on it. Definitely. I haven't seen any of them say, wow, that's just one side of the story. I mean, it's out there. I mean, it's not...
No, I just mean like, you don't know what they like. Maybe Ringo talked in the first hour and a half.
You don't know how it was edited.
Right? They didn't show him talking. I was like, damn, Ringo can really sit in a chair.
Yeah.
And it's funny what you mentioned their influence. There's a classic scene in the movie Yesterday, which is about a movie. It's like a fantasy movie where something happens in the world and the Beatles don't exist and only one person remembers them. And he starts singing their songs.
Yeah, I remember that.
Famous.
I did like that movie. I don't think it went far enough. Like they could have gotten, but I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah, it was really fun. And but the funny joke in that is he goes to Google and he types in the band was it Oasis? Is that right?
Yeah.
And like, is that the band?
And Oasis doesn't exist, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't exist. And because they're so influenced.
He also typed in Harry Potter. It didn't exist either.
Right. That was like the end. And he goes,
Yeah.
But yeah, this is, if you like this and if you like more about the music, Jen, you mentioned McCartney 321 on Hulu, which is it's about 6 hours with Paul McCartney talking to Rick Rubin, is a great documentary as well. That was
he has a book out too, doesn't he? Just have a book out about how he wrote about his songs. Is how he came up with all of his songs, or not all of them, but some of them. I think that's what he was promoting on Howard.
Okay. No, that'd be amazing.
It's just superb. I was surprised by, they did it they released it in 3 consecutive days. So it was, basically 2+ hours each day, which was great for Thanksgiving weekend, especially. But it's so good. And again, it's the quality of it as a documentary is incredible technically.
Right. I think it does showcase Paul McCartney. He was the project manager. He was the one that actually
he talks about
creative geniuses, but it was him that kept the Beatles for as long as they were.
Yeah, I mean, John was loving his life with Yoko and again, they don't really talk about it, but this was his heroin phase, he and Yoko, and they were kind of footloose and fancy free at that point in time. Ringo was whatever, and George was done and ready to do his own solo stuff. So yeah, it's funny. There's one comment in there when they're talking after George has left, and they're like, "What do we do?" And John actually goes, "Let's get Eric Clapton." Like, could you imagine if George had left the Beatles and they'd replaced him with Eric Clapton?
Wow.
His best
none of them would have been vaccinated. I would, but other than
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, that was amazing, Howard, and thank you for putting the 8 hours in. And
yes,
yeah,
good work.
Twice,
Howard.
16 hours.
Damn.
well, I think that wraps up. I think that wraps up this show. What a great show, Jen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, you
Jen.
for having me.
Remind
Thanks,
everyone
Jen.
else. Remind everyone again where they can find Princess Pinky Girl.
Very good. PrincessPinkyGirl.com on Facebook or on Pinterest or on Instagram. Kind of on TikTok, but not so much.
Very cool. Thank you. And we will have you back. You were fabulous.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Libby Pants.
Yeah, Wednesdays 9:30, or on my couch this Saturday night at 8 o'clock watching the Big Ten
Yeah.
Championship.
My daughter's
blue.
going.
Your daughter's going.
to the game. Yeah.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Sal, say goodnight.
I will also use my time to say go blue, go blue, go blue. SalDemilio.com. Good night, everybody.
Howard
I as well will say go blue, go blue, go blue. And and I'm seen right here. Same time, same bat channel.
Awesome. And I am Jeff Dwoskin. You can catch me on my podcast, Live from Detroit, The Jeff Dwoskin Show. Every Monday is an interview episode. Tonight at midnight, actually, releasing a bonus episode, which is Crossing the Streams. Return to Crossing the Streams. I took a few segments from past shows, put them together.
Oh,
So we'll see how that goes. So you'll be able to
Check that
have
out.
a little Crossing the Streams right into your ears. And then I got a big episode coming up on Monday. I just want to say I'm excited about it. With all the talk about Spider-Man, I couldn't get Toby, I couldn't get Andrew, I couldn't get Tom, but I could get Nicholas Hammond, 1970s Amazing Spider-Man. And so we talk about the Sound of Music, Spider-Man, Lord of the Flies, and of course Doug Simpson
Friedrich.
from the Brady Bunch.
Friedrich.
It's a good one, right? He was Friedrich. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I appreciate all of you for stopping by. Once again, to Crossing the Streams, we do this every Wednesday, and we will see you next time. And that has been another episode of Crossing the Streams. Join us every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Follow The Jeff Dwoskin Show on YouTube to be alerted every time we go live with your hosts, Jeff Dwoskin, Ron Lippett, Howard Rosner, Bob Phillips, Sal D'Amelio. We're all in the socials. Follow us. Listen to our podcasts, live from Detroit, The Jeff Dwoskin Show, The Sal and Bob Show. Check them all out, and we'll see you next week and every week when we cross more streams right here. See you then.